Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone listening to this message anywhere in the world. I'm yours sincerely, Olumide Okumakinde Esquire. Through this medium, I present to you an open address to the Nigerian Presidency, National Assembly, states governors, states houses of assembly, and concerned Nigerians in the homeland and the diaspora. The address is on the need to abrogate the statutes enabling the use of the dangerously and destructively configured Nigerian Coat of Arms as a matter of national emergency. The aim of this presentation is to expose the Nigerian Coat of Arms as Nigeria's biggest problem and make a case for its abrogation or annulment with immediate effect. The method of interpretation employed to explain the problem stated is based on the sequential order of cryptaesthetic diagnosis. This peculiar case is characterized by explanation of empirical effects from the proposition of metaphysical causation that is offered in the advanced Oduifa Ashuwada, theory of unity of matter and non-matter in the universe. Correspondingly, the explanation is based on the propositional Oduifa principle of material evolution from the immaterial, generally heralded in the statement Adífá fún Ábídí ní ìgbà tí ó ń ti ìkọ̀lé ọ̀run bọ̀ wá ìkọ̀lé ayé. That is, divination is cast for Abidi when Abidi was coming to the plane of the earth from the plane of heavens. This method of interpretation, generally founding the developing principle and theory of metaphorical history of nature, is adopted as a guide for the improvement of understanding of thought forms to material manifestations. The presentation will be in historical phases, the first being a summary of the order of perceptive guide. Proceeding further in the second stage are references to preliminary newspaper presentations of discovery of the problematic nature of the coat of arms within the first nonagonal cycle of the 21st century and millennium between 1999 and 2007. This proceeds further with the 2008-2010 era of exploration of the Marshall Matrix of Nigeria, and further till 2013, wherein further interpretations of effect of the coat of arms was presented. Proceedings after this is the exploration of the breakthrough on the British roots of the Nigerian coat of arms and its attendant implications. It is worthy of note that for donkey years before 2020, the origins and date of creation of the coat of arms was shrouded in secrecy, thanks to the research by CRIMMID, the Center for Research, Information and Media Development in Lagos, which revealed that it was not designed by Mr. Taiwo Akinkunmi, was not designed by Reverend Dr. Harris L. Bain Jr., it wasn't designed by General David Ejel. Neither did it come into force in 1975 as it was being peddled. Rather, it was designed by Messrs. Beverly Pick Associates of London and was signed into law on the 16th of September, 1960. The lessons of this The lessons of this presentation by expansive timeline analysis is not for Nigeria alone. It is for as many nations of the world, developed or developing, that have adopted the tradition of having a coat of arms within their arrays of civic heraldry. The lesson is clear. Where inadequate caution is not taken in the course of creating a coat of arms, or in the case of malicious indiscretion in the process of such creation, we are bound to lay against ourselves and humanity a cosmic siege that will evolve in unfortunate cycles of incarnations within the socio-economic and political spaces of the human society over the course of time. Such creation as a coat of arms is what the Yoruba people call Aba. Aba is a declaration that is based on thought conviction, and it is a binding covenant that permeates all realms of consciousness. Hence, the saying that Abati alagemobada ni orisha oke ngba. That is, the declaration expressed by the chameleon in color is what the nature forces of the higher realms of cosmos accepts and responds to. When the thought propelling an Abba is malicious or negative, Aba is bound to operate at the devastation levels of the natural laws of attraction and magnetism. When it is negative, it becomes an error of craft which may live in perpetuity, while the consequences also linger on for ages. These may find definitive descriptions in terms such as covenants, majemu, or egun. In Nigeria's case, the coat of arms fall under the category of majemu and egun. Perhaps a handful of people within the deep fraternal power structure of Great Britain set the nation up, and the nation Nigeria set Nigeria up from the time of independence for renation. It is expected that at this critical time, all differences amongst Nigerians will set aside on the religious, tribal, and political levels, and that motions will set forth in full-scale force of civil and political will to abrogate and extinguish the Nigerian coat of arms. I will go into a brief historical overview. Now, I am obliged to share the foundation of this journey from the metaphysical perception to identification of significant natural historical occurrences. This year, 2024, marks the 25th year of research, reflections, time and cycle watch on the fate of Nigeria. It was in the year 2008 that studies on the Nigerian coat of arms in relation to death commenced. In the cosmic parlance, the coat of arms has since induced the death of Nigeria, akin to what the Yoruba call Akbasayi. Permit me to briefly share two experiences which serve as foundations to the research and reflections culminating into this summary presentation. First of all, in the year 1999, somewhere along my third year at the Buffalo University in Ile-Ife, I had a deep and lucid dream experience on the eve of a scheduled commencement of writing the political treatise, then billed to be titled the Democrats' Manifesto, mirroring the Nigerian reality in line with how a polygamous setting could best be set up for peace and progress and for the avoidance of matrimonial dilemmas. In that dream, emissaries from the north, south, east, and west of Nigeria beckoned on me to look into a general problem that affected all regions. The countenance of the emissaries was a troubled one. Within that frame, there was a conception that popped up at heart in the dream, beyond theory, as it echoed. On waking up and after deep reflections over time, I had a conviction to shut down the book plan, and the dream experience would keep flashing ceaselessly in my consciousness, giving me no rest day and night. I was inspired to switch my concentration to align with the course of millennial time. Hence, I opted for numerological count of the new millennium and century with hope that the first 9 years, which form the primary nonagonal cycle of the century and millennium, will present keys that will open doors of resolution and redemption. However, as it is in Yoruba spirituality, there is always a chain of connection to motherhood. Therefore, there was a necessary corresponding watch on Great Britain as the mother of Nigeria. Using the millennial time gate, year 2004 was targeted in presumptive focus as a time of breaking forth of light that will show the way through the task before 2005, 2006, and 7. 2002, 2003, 2004 was the second pyramid or triangle within the first nonagonal cycle foundation of the century and millennium, while the third and final pyramid or triangle of the said first nonagonal cycle was formed by transitions of time from 2005 to 2006 and 2007. 2004, by digit summation of 2 plus 4 to 6, which is equal to 6, marked the year of full centralization and stabilization of the sun to run the millennial course of illumination. That was the year of breakthrough that came through the AFCON, the African Cup of Nations held in Tunisia. The year 2004 was a figure 6, which is a number of the sun in the Jewish Kabbalah. Being aware that the figure was the very first order of such number in the millennium, and having knowledge of the relationship between the eagle and the sun, I then waited to observe and take record of events anchored to animal symbols by names of the African teams. The principal focus was on eagles, My presumption for the tournament was that the eagle, being the bird of the sun, was chanced and positioned for prominence. In that tournament, it turned out that among the last four, three were eagles and one was a lion. The Super Eagles of Nigeria, the Carthage Eagles of Tunisia, and the Eagles of Mali. The Nigerian Eagles were knocked out by the Tunisian Eagles in the semi-final. The final match was between the Carthage Eagles of Tunisia and the Atlas Lions of Morocco. The Carthage Eagles were triumphant. So at the close of the tournament, in the course of reflection, a particular verse from Oduifa, Oduifa never stopped popping up at every reflection. Details, the Odu holds guidance on the avoidance of chaos and path to socio-economic stability. Ẹgbọ́ bí Ifá náà ti wí, Ọ̀rúnmìlà ní kí a lágbára bí Ògún, kí a gbọ́n bí Ifá. Nítorí èmi ni okun ilé ayé o. That is, Ọ̀rúnmìlà admonishes humans to be strong like Ògún and wise like Ifá. The reason being that the world is full of vibrations. Now, back to the order of events at AFCON. The observation made, which appeared like an accident of time, the eagle on the Nigerian Coat of Arms came to bear light. In the motherhood connectivity dimension, Great Britain also came to bear light. The codification in heraldry by featuring of the lion on the royal arms of England affirmed an interest in further reflection on the images on the Nigerian Coat of Arms. Motherhood is akin to templates of causation with imageries of Olokun and Yemoja, Udu and Oshorunga. These four dimensions represent bays of causation, of which in Western esoteric science may be elements of the cosmic underworld and causal intelligence, positive or negative. This induced a focus on the figure 7, which is attributed to occult intelligence, Jewish Kabbalah. Hence, in the British Time Watch, I was on the lookout for the 3 Lions of England at the Euro 2004 soccer tournament with a focus on the national icon wearing jersey number 7, David Beckham. David was referred to as at that time as England's lucky charm, but it was overshadowed by severe misfortune at the tournament. This incident drew me back to a record taken as at April of the same year, when it was announced that Timothy, a 160-year-old British iconic turtle, died. I did a calculation of 160 by digit summation to arrive at 7. 1 plus 6 plus 0, that is 7. At that time, I became convinced that I was on the right track and that the years configured 6 by digit summation would be a focus, as it could actually be a problematic timing for Great Britain, and an indicator of a need for British deep fraternal retrospection. I wondered, is a retrospection in respect of Nigeria? Now, a look into the future for the close of the pyramid of the first 3 figures, 6 manifestation. The pyramid triangle, top, opened from 2004 to 2013. And the closure of the pyramid, the triangle, was projected into the year 2022, which is actually the third of such evolutions. The third and closure. So the closure at 2022 was expected to be very significant and symbolic for Great Britain. It was at that year that Queen Elizabeth of England passed away at the age of 96. A view of the number value of the year, it was a 6. 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. The 0 is insignificant. The 0 from 2022. Now, a view of the age of the late Queen Elizabeth at her demise was 96. 9 plus 6 is also 15. 1 plus 5 is equal to 6. Now, back to the 2004 matter. From the juncture of the 2004 experience and observations, the question asked was centered on what bearing the images on the Nigerian coat of arms has on the Nigerian state and destiny, since it was not the only creature, since the eagle was not the only creature on the national symbol, every other one became objects of focus. I observed in that same year the plight of lions, post presumptions that it was to be a tough year for the British. Hence, by the year 2007, there was a preliminary publication on the Nigerian coat of arms in the Nation newspaper. It was titled An Artistic Set of the Second Lunagonal Cycle, 2008 to 2016. In another transcendental deep dream-like vision, I encountered three men by the ocean shore. These men walked up to me and asked, "Young man, why do you bother yourself so much about Nigeria? Don't you know that Nigeria is like a man long dead and buried, and it will take only a miracle to revive her?" I woke up, reflected deeply, and began to ask questions day after day and night after night. If Nigeria is already dead and buried, why is there an expression of a possibility for revival? If there is a prospect for revival, there must be an identification of graveyard or site, an exhuming of national corpse, and a cosmic forensic examination. Since death is multidimensional, from the Yoruba traditional perspective, the dimension of Nigeria's death was deemed to be evolutionary by inducement. Hence, once the inducing point of evolution can be identified, the cycle of negative evolution can be terminated from the point of inducement or cause of death. And hopefully, the miraculous revival will occur within the ambit of time. These shared experiences ushered journeys in which preliminary reflections were published in the nation's newspaper in 2007 and 2013. Prior to these writings, cognizance was taken of political history of Nigeria beyond 1914 amalgamation and the fact that there was never homogeneity of a Nigerian society, but the bringing together of a completely different peoples who were initially components of the northern and southern protectorates. The southern part, in later formulations, became divided into three: East, West, and the Deep South, now called South-South. These coordinates find the consequential animist hemispheric representation on the coat of arms, wherein we view the North and other sects to be four definitive and distinctive entities represented in cardinal and hemispheric dimensions. This, as such, firstly suggests a fashioned cosmic alignment for effect in the lives and destinies of each distinct entity as a unit, and secondly, the alignment layout is for chaotic correspondence with each other as an amalgamated whole. Without wasting much time and avoiding the complex details, it is necessary to revisit the articles published by the Nation newspaper in 2007 and 2013. There will be brief reference to another which is unpublished, though, but it was circulated within a handful of political elite of the Southwest between 2008 and 2009. This particular one is titled Nigerian Coat of Arms and its 198 Years of Doom. Nigerian Coat of Arms and its 198 Years of Doom. And it was in effect of this piece that I got a telephone call from Professor Wale Omole, the former vice chancellor of the Obafemi Awolowo University, with an outpouring of deep and profound words of encouragement. He expressed his conviction that this work should not be limited to the Nigerian space because it may actually open the gates of understanding of problems faced by many nations of the world who also practice the tradition of having a coat of arms. Right at this juncture, we need to ask ourselves, what is a coat of arms? A coat of arms is originally an armorial achievement or bearing, and its use by countries is known as civic heraldry. It is noted to be of European cultural origin, and it is a symbolic code of family or fraternal history. Its use in Nigeria constitutes an improper and miscalculated adoption of foreign culture. In Nigeria, it bears the seal of the head of state. Yeah, in Nigeria as it is all over the world, it bears the seal of the head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces and the vice president in both the military and civilian regimes, And as a matter of necessity, it is also used by the executive, legislative, and judicial arms of government. Therefore, it is the principal symbol and bearing of government in general. In the metaphysical and paranormal context, Nigeria's coat of arms is a symbol principality in the subconscious and unconscious plane of the mind that works with the forces of creation. It is a work of art with a potential power to attract primordial forces of nature, to influence the mind of Nigeria's leadership, and consequently translate the influence into directions, to actions and directions of followership. This influence is possible because the symbols find effective space within the subconscious plane that vibrates into the conscious mind. Now, let us examine the Nigerian coat of arms and its configuration. Nigeria's coat of arms is configured as follows. The black shield on the Nigerian coat of arms is said to represent the earth of Nigeria. The white wavy bands represent the rivers Niger and Benue. The white horses, as two supporters, represent dignity. The eagle represents strength. On the ground on which the bearing stands is a Croctus spectabilis, a wildflower found throughout Nigeria. It's referred to as Nigeria's national flower. And the wreath on which the shield rests is in Nigeria's national colors of green and white. This is an accidental or malicious fusion of the air and earth elements. I mean the configuration of the wreath. Now, in a write-up by the present speaker titled An Artistic Analysis of the Nigerian Coat of Arms, which was published by the Nation newspaper on the 2nd day of July, 2007, preliminary interpretations were made without reference to inherent futuristic prognosis. Summarily, of the eagle, it was written that it is a mythological bird that symbolizes the sun and regenerates its energy from it through a fasting ritual known as molting, in which the eagle lays on his back for hours to stare at the sun. And then the sun is a symbol of extremely energetic intelligence and living intellectual force. It rises in the east and sets in the west. However, the Nigerian eagle on the coat of arms faces the west where the sun sets and not the east where it rises. Worse still, it is colored red, the color of aggression, strong will, extreme one, and extreme irrational passion. These are occasional characteristics of the color. However, it must be stated that the color is grossly misapplied. Further written in the referenced article is that in esoteric science, the West is the abode of water. Naturally, eagles' motions towards that aquatic direction is for food. It was noted that it is readable that the will to power and will to leadership in Nigeria is governed by the appetite and vices of the lower self. Also noted was a problem of the will against proper education. I want to reiterate this fact that the eagle facing the west, whenever the eagle faces the west, it goes there to fish or to look for food, as in not west in the sense of going to the water. It goes there to catch fish, to feed. So that is why it is stated that naturally the eagle's motion towards the aquatic direction is for food. And then it is readable that the will to power and will to leadership is governed by appetite and vices of the lower self. Also noted was a problem of the will against proper education. As the eagle turns against its natural source of energy, the east where the sun rises, it was viewed as an omen of anti-intellectualism and lack of sound philosophy of education. Education in Nigeria will not be directed at the improvement and cultivation of the mind over the course of degeneration as the years keep going. Its overall aim and benefit will become equivalent to a quest for attainment of meal tickets. And to the state, it will be wished away onto dictates of commerce. I mean education. Summarily, for the two horses, it was noted that the one situated westward faces the plane of the rising sun and experiences sunlight more than the other, which faces the west. The northward headed eagle turns against the east where the sun rises and keeps a straight focus on the west where the sun sets. This was given as an omen of educational advantage of the western axis of Nigeria over the eastern and northern axis. The western horse sees the sun rising to a limit of about 135 degrees to the disadvantage of 225 degrees within a perfect 360 degrees of a circle. The eastern horse does not see the sun rise before 46 degrees, to which it is disadvantaged. The northward eagle sees only the setting sun. As a result, it is the most educationally disadvantaged, intellectually incapacitated, and most attractive to poverty. The summaries given are a prelude to deeper cultural interpretations of the Nigerian coat of arms, its kinetic and potential effect on metaphysical evolution and impact on the physical history of Nigeria from 1960 to 2158, which is a period of 198 years. Proceeding further, I will mix details of the published with the unpublished record. The published part is excised from a publication titled Nigerian Presidency and the Northern Death Spell, published in two parts, first on June 16 and second on June 30 of the year 2013. From this article, let us look into what was stated about the eagle on the coat of arms. Just as the horses are determinant factors of the evolutionary fate of the western and eastern Nigeria, the northward-headed eagle's vibrations dominates the northern destiny. The eagle stands in distress. It is elevated without effort upon the shield that represents the earth and water elementals of the Nigerian cosmic space. The elevation is sustained by the supporters' horses, which is indicative of the west and east. These horses bear the entire weight of the cosmic earth and the water mass upon the down south that does not have any proper symbolic representation like the north, east, and west. On the coat of arms, the down south is like a non-entity, an imaginary beast of burden on which the east, west, and the northern structure rely on for subsistence and standing. Apparently, the horses are labored in servitude to the visions and focus of the eagle. This is an indicator of potential eagle and northern domination over the southwest, down south, and southeast. The eagle's focus on the west, specifically the northwest of the armorial bearing space, is an indicator that the axis in national geography will be the greater beneficiary of power, attention, and attainment than the potentially marginalizable northeast. Of the eagle's expected vision, instead of the far-sightedness for which the eagle is naturally a master, the red eagle indicates policy short-sightedness of government and general illusionism of both government and citizens. The visions of state, the north and majority of the influenced and misdirected citizens are towards destructive materialism, anchored to the lower self. Generally, the eagle possesses the dominant will to the bearing and consciousness of state. This indicates the northern advantage in power and leadership positioning in Nigerian history. The east-situated horse and the eagle have a common direction, while the west-situated horse and the eagle are both polarized. This indicates that in pursuit of the visions and focus of the eagle as a symbolic representation of the north, the east are unwitting supporters of the eagle's will. In this case, they will at most times be vulnerable to mischievous direction in pursuit of the eagle's visions and desires. The focal and visual oppositions of the eagle and horse indicates that the major opposition to the visions and focus of the eagle will be from the west-situated horse. Therefore, the only sustained and insurmountable opposition to the north will be from the west, southwest specifically. However, the principal self-leg and balls shooting of the north will be conspiracies against the west. The more the conspiracy against the west, the deeper the north sinks into the abyss of existence, and the more nature disfavors them. The eagle posture on the horse indicates a potential problem with the constitution of the Nigerian nation. Just as a country is systematically driven by constitution as a representation of an assumed general will, the principal lord of the constitution itself is a national coat of arms by virtue of its overpowering influence on the will through subconsciousness. While the constitution may be manipulated by political will, the coat of arms is a potential independent symbol mediator between the peoples and the heavenly planes that can only be manipulated from earth through requisite intelligence and mastery of natural metaphysical culture. The nest and hatchery of the essence of the coat of arms is the subconscious layer of the mind. Its field and forest of birds is the conscious mind of man, which is a limitless embodiment within the human body. Therefore, because of the enormous advantage that the eagle vibrates into the north, human bodies, men, that is, men from the north in position of authority and power, are naturally bound to live against the will of the majority. This indicates a potential constitutional subjection and subjection of the constitution, the Nigerian constitution, to the northern will to power. Generally, there's an indicator of potential attitudes of constitutional violations and disregard of constitutionalism by the shadow directors of the country. Furthermore, on the eagle's posture, it is an indicator of a potential northern educational incapacity, relatively speaking. This effect spills over to the central and general government policy on education, which is bound to be dismal. It spills over to an approach to issues of culture, which is bound to be worse. At worst, the state is bound to have no respect for the arts and humanities in general. This makes original scientific development and creativity absolutely impossible in Nigeria, for science does not come out of the blues, but it is mothered by the arts and humanities. There is also bound to be a characteristic disregard and underestimation of history and all its potentials and powers. In a relative dimension, it is readable that Nigeria leadership's mind will hardly learn from experience and observation. The genius and principled politicians within the polity would also be endangered species. There is bound to be a debasement and misdirection of political and religious energy. Leadership of the northern part of Nigeria will not be able to utilize their faithful advantage to the general development of the region, despite the fact that they possess a high advantage and opportunity to utilize their great, beautiful, and world-class Hausa language in order to attain a first-class civilization. The westward-facing eagle's short-sightedness denies them of taking full cultural advantage of their homogeneous language. Neither will they be able to take full advantage of their expansive landmass. Most unfortunately for northern Nigeria, the configuration of the eagle positions them to hold on to power in vain. They have power, but the power is useless to them and to the entire nation. Even when they are not on the presidential throne, they are configured in such a way that they determine the course and direction of state in accordance to the negatives of the said configuration. Now, we continue with the eagle again. The eagle posture indicates that in the political field, there are bound to be gross rapes, symbolically speaking, violations of human rights, mad riggings, and all sorts of procedural corruption. Justice will almost be impossible. In economic directions, from leadership to the entire citizenry, the Nigerian community will characteristically be a society of investors in consumption rather than construction or productivity. The country will be subjected to things inferior, material and immaterial, and will have no understanding of excellence. The eagle posture is also the foundation for notorious greed, gluttony, and corruption of political and religious leadership, who are configured cosmically to be slaves of the lower self. The eagle image indicates that the North will be subjected to acute poverty as long as the coat of arms subsists. Sunrise in the East is an emergence of beauty. The symbolism of the sun, from the Hebrew or Jewish Kabbalah and the cultural point of view, is primordial beauty as manifested in Tifereth, the sixth domain of the tree of life. In some other cultures too, the sun is an epitome of eternal beauty and the radiance of gold. In Ese Oduifa Iwori Otura, it was noted that that is, he who fails to pay attention to a thing of natural beauty will become wretched. In the reference Eseifa, the root of beauty is noted to be in the sun. By some sort of deduction, the first law of attraction of poverty is to shut out light, which means many things, some of which are truth, knowledge, and intellectualism or intellectual purity. In view of the eagle's posture, in matters of culture in general, the approach to issues of culture is potentially bound to be unintellectual and anti-intellectual. As a result, culture may never be productive but restricted to usages for festive amusements and entertainment. Also, there is bound to be a non-existent local cultural economy in the course of civilization. Anti-creativity is also indicated by the posture of the eagle. Hence, there is bound to be a general and economic and scientific unproductivity. Now, by virtue of the global time shift, attendant cosmic realignments are the time shift I'm talking about. There's a time shift from previous millennium to the current, between 1998 and 2000, precisely the point of 1999. So by virtue of the global time shift, attendant cosmic realignments of the eagle's disconnection from light, and by virtue of a global time shift, attendant cosmic realignments and the eagle's disconnection from light, the ball was naturally set rolling for the northern decline from the year 2000. The eagle's decline was expected to translate into a rapid physical decline of foundational socioeconomic legacies of the North and Nigeria as a whole. Geographically, there are indications of inevitable decline of northern control and dominion. As a matter of hard fact, the northern region began its journey down the abyss from the year 2000 without any hope of recovery, so long as the coat of arms subsists. The period of 1960 to 2000 is an intermillennium. As a result, there was indicators for northern destiny in the 21st century through renewals of nature cycles at periodic crossovers. There's something that has to be taken cognizance of. Presidency headed by the North ceased by May 29 in 1999, during the closing periods of Nigeria's 30th year of self-rule. The presidency, in the prelude to a fourth Nigerian self-governing decade, 39th year, was influenced by northern approval and interest. By the 1st of October 2000, which is the beginning of the fourth decade of self-governance, the presidency was headed by a southerner, retired General Olusegun Obasanjo. After 8 years, in 2007, it handed over to another northerner. By 2009, the northern president faced serious health crisis, capable of permanent incapacitation or death. Now, in this 2009 period, the intensity of cosmic light was bound to dominate the space of leadership, of which every spiritual art every cosmic, let me use the word cosmic art, directing national fate, but which is creatively inclined to darkness, will be drained of vitality and consequently vanquished. The presumed physical evolution of this cosmic agenda was expected to manifest in the form of an emaciated cadaverous being imprisoned with the northern iconic eagle. The eagle had no immunity against the intensity of cosmic light, and being unknown to the cosmic sun rising from the east. And in the intense luminous year 2009, when the sun ran its course and peaked in the north before joining to set in the west. It was expected that the eagle's head would be scorched and its crown dissolved. The peaking point of the luminous year 2009 was the 11th month of November. Doom of the living principal northern icon was sealed at the closure of the evolutionary triangle of cosmic illumination in the following evolutionary order of days. Wednesday, November 11, 2009, Friday, November 20, 2009, Sunday, November 29, 2009. The numerological order of this sequence is 33, 42, and 51, respectively, derived from the calculation of 11 for the number of November, 11 for the day, 11 for the month, for the year 2009. 2009 is 2 plus 0 plus 0 plus 9, which is 11. Same goes for 11 for November, 22 for 20th day, and 11 for 2009. And then on to November 29, 2 plus 9 is also 11. For the month of 11 and the year 2009. All these numbers, digits summed in numerology, revolve to figure 6, the number of the sun, an intensely expressive illumination. So instead of experiencing the good fortune of number 33, onset of the formation of triangle, which is a master number vibration of healing derivable from the sun, the presidency icon was exposed to a manifestation of terminal infirmity. This is exposure because humans are related to the earth element. So it's like you have an imagery of an image of the flowers which is put outside and the sun dries it up, put outside in the desert with the heat, intense heat, and it dries out and cracks. So we have an indication of an emanciation of the Nigerian president at that time. Now, in cosmic evolution, at the formation of the first point of the triangular base in the eastern cosmic hemisphere on Friday, 20th of November, the presidential icon came under the full spiritual siege of terminal infirmity. At the triangle closure in the western cosmic hemisphere by Sunday, November 29, 2009, the advantage of immortality was non-existent, and the presidential icon's mortality by terminal infirmity was sealed at sunset. The 2009 evolution didn't favor northern rulership. But before I continue, let me just state that the presidential icon referred to the human diamond, the human person is in the personality of the late Yaradua, late former President Yaradua. The 2009 evolution didn't favor northern rulership, even though in Nigeria's case, the cosmic evolution of the effect of the coat of arms places a northerner on the presidential seat, but to face a ruthless and invincible cosmic revolt and opposition. The revolt was to be most intense if the northern presidency emanates from 90 degrees range of the northwest direction where the eagle faces. The scorching effect of the sun was expected to drain up the water contents of the eagle, thus creating the cadaverous image, a sick and pale, extremely pale person. This image was really manifested in the condition of the President Yaradua in that year. In the peak month of November 2009, by the sealing of the triangle of flames and lights for the millennium on the 29th day of November, the spirit of the late Yaradua was set for final disconnection from his body. It was human effort through science that pushed his date of death to the 5th of May 2010. And so at this juncture, let's move on to further notes about the eagle and its negative vibrations. The eagle positioning sets the course of a cosmic curse of degenerative witchcraft and glorious destruction upon the land. The era of mystic art has transformed the eagle into its opposite, the vulture. What it What is consequently attracted to the Nigerian presidential space and social space in secular and spiritual activities is the manifestation of the spiritual culture of the vulture, Eyegun, which thrives on filth and which exudes stench and filth magnetism. These are translatable to mean immutable, predestined, degenerative social, religious, political, economic intelligence, and anti intellectualism. Reiteratively speaking, the red eagle on the Nigerian coat of arms is not a good omen for the country. It spells doom for the entire country. And the worst dimension of doom is spelled for the North, to which it has attracted self destruction. It is worthy of note that the down south does not have any animal symbolic representation like the North, which has the eagle, the east, the horse, and the west, the horse. The down south, determined by the reef, is like an nonentity, an imaginary beast of burden on which the east, the west, and the northern structure rely on for subsistence. And so we move on to further examine the northern decline and ex-President Jonathan's ascension to the presidency of Nigeria. The northern decline began at the turn of the century and millennium. The turn of every millennium is an indicator of cosmic rearrangement, realignment, and crossovers. It's the potential cause of rise and fall of civilizations and empires, which are largely determined by influence of civic icons. As for Nigeria, although the red eagle and horses on the coat of arms still appear to be in a fixed state, in metaphysical evolution in history, at the turn of the century and millennium in 1999, all astral images naturally repositioned in a state of rest and chaos. Hence, the horses had since let go of the shield that elevates the distressed eagle, which has since crashed with the shield and is buried in the devastation of Nigeria's cosmic earth and waters through the wreath space, leaving its evil ghost to haunt the presidency. In the plunge, as at that time, as the plungers at that time, the eagle drew upon itself and the south-south destination some elements of treacherous spirit of the horse, which by vibrations of Odu Obarawani is imported into the subconscious of Eastern and Western Nigerian political class. Yes. This treachery, in view of contest in the Ifa legend, wherein the horse entered into a conspiracy to kill the beautiful deer before a scheduled dance contest in which the deer was a favorite to win. Most unfortunately for the red eagle, it was without energy to flee from the cataclysm, unlike the horses which experienced some cosmic earth slide and struggled to find their feet on natural cosmic earth. By the millennial turn, that caused the horses to let go of the shield on which the eagle perched uncomfortable on the wavy band. When the red eagle plunged deep into the down-south direction of the Nigerian coat of arms, the plunge created a vacuum in the cosmic space of leadership and temporarily terminated the eagle's ill cosmic fortune in the national space of subconscious direction. As a rule of causal science, nature abhors vacuum, and therefore there was bound to be a cosmic exchange of position. In the eagle's down-south plunge through the reef, advantages of leadership position and the cosmic fortune which crowned the north spattered all over the down-south of the coat of arms, bringing the burden of crisis upon the space of the down-south axis, bringing a burden of crisis upon the space of a down-south axis where the fortune roosts to fill the empty space of national leadership. A physical manifestation of this metaphysical evolution in history, in Nigeria's history, was the ascension of President Goodluck Jonathan of the down-south axis of the coat of arms to the position of the Nigeria's head of state. What happened simply was that the eagle plunged down into the space of the wreath, and because nature abhors vacuum, the wreath had to go up. So the northern president was to die, and succeeded by a president from the South. Now, let's talk about the horses and the shield. The horse is universally acclaimed to be potentially reckless and eccentric. Vibrations of this character from the coat of arms is naturally bound to have space in Nigerian leadership culture. On the coat of arms, the horse is portrayed to signify dignity. However, metaphorical history of the horse in the Yoruba metaphysical worldview contained in Ifa Udwoye Kubara reveals that the horse, while picking lot from heaven before coming to the earth, chose honor and admiration through sacrifice, but didn't sacrifice against being scourged. In the book of Psalms 32, verse 9, there is an instruction: do not be like the horse or the mule, which have no understanding, which must be harnessed with bit and bridle. Now, in Oduo Barawani, the horse was self-afflicted with occasional madness and eccentricity as a result of sorcery fashioned against the deer, which backfired. From further interpretations of Barawani, the horse is a symbol of a murderous conspiracy and disunity caused by hate and envy. The horse connived with other animals to kill the deer Igmi, who was poised to win a dance competition. The horse went on the errand to acquire evil magic potion, which water was not meant to touch. However, on his way back, rain fell and splashed on the horse's body, and it ran mad. And from then on, it became an eccentric animal. In the Nigerian context, it is indicated that victims of political assassinations are more likely to be from Western and Southern origins as a result of impending competitions. The horses may have a glory in cavalry in history, but it has no place in the impact of glorious human consciousness. And for traditional institutions who use horses as symbols, discipline in foundational ethics would be impossible to achieve, and recklessness will be their hallmark in the course of time. Now, let's move on to the national flower and wreath. Nigeria's national flower, the Crocus spectabilis, is a flower that grows only in spring. Such mortal image is not good on the icons such as the coat of arms. It is not good as a national flower because the death of the flower during the Harmattan season will transmit bad vibrations of scarcity. It indicates that from even November to March of every year, there is bound to be recurring acts of state, which induces hardship and faded hopes among citizens. The wreath on which the shield rests is on Nigeria's national colors of green and white. The wreath could be used for decoration, honor, or placed on the grave of the dead. Of the options, Nigeria attracts the gravely influenced, courtesy the deathly imagery of the eagle and miscolored shield. The earth is not black, but brown in shades of light or dark. Whenever the earth is represented in black, such signal draws all evil propensities of color black, which itself is not evil, but where caution is not taken, forms a cover for unchecked stealth of evil manifestations. It is a curse upon the Nigerian lands. Now we move to, we can call it note of caution. But now, as of 2013, it was arrived at with strong conviction that when iconic art forms, such as the coat of arms, are not understood, the human consciousness in material creation may be subjected to the directions of lower astral ambience. Hence, the mental state of human consciousness, which is higher than the astral, is subjected to leadership of the lower astral ambience, and man is cut off from the purity of the planes of spiritual ambience of God, the supreme divinity, through the subconscious bridge. Consequently, there is a reversal of roles in the directions of the power of thought and will. The place of the Creator is given unto astral forces which are lesser than man. Due to the subjection of human mental ambience, there is bound to be a problem of bankruptcy in reasoning, consequently raising issues of ethical concerns in the course of statecraft. Human behavioral patterns will thereby reflect instincts of lower animals. Hence, in the socio-political philosophic theory, the organized human society in such condition finds a befitting definition in accordance with Thomas Hobbes' state of nature, where life is noted to be expectedly nasty, brutish, and short. By the force of the Nigerian coat of arms, the Nigerian presidency is under a siege of degenerative spell. The adoption, or better still, foistering of the coat of arms on Nigeria shut the doors of Nigerian presidency against good leadership. In all ramifications, the coat of arms is the correct astral foundational root cause of majority of Nigeria's current problems that God had revealed to some churches, but which the leaders did not understand, images that appeared graven, and they erringly arrived at the deprived conclusion and still make attempts to affirm that God was referring to the Festival of Arts and Culture of 1977, popularly known as Festac 77. It is at this juncture that we close reference to previous writings about the coat of arms and proceed to the unveiling of the designers. The year 2000, unraveling of the designer of the Nigerian coat of arms by the Center for Research, Information Management and Media, CRIMMID, Lagos. By 2020, answer to the questions who designed the Nigerian coat of arms was given in the outcome of research by the Center for Research, Information Management and Media, CRIMMID, led by the DG, Abia-born Dr. Raphael James. This unveiling was the outcome of a 7-year research process which they began in 2013. In a CRIMMID publication online titled Nigeria at 60, Unraveling the Designer of Nigeria's Coat of Arms, published on October 1, 2020, with the name Roland Obi Ogbunaya, it was revealed that Mercer's Beverly Pick Hills Associates of London designed the Nigerian coat of arms. The draft was approved by the Garter Principal, King of Arms of the College of Arms, 130 Queen Victoria Street, London, in May 1960. It was later sent to Sir James Robertson, who was the Governor General of Nigeria, who then signed it into law on September 16, 1960. Questions further arose as to whether the configuration was a mere error or the willful intention of the designers. Furthermore, it was designed in good faith. And furthermore, I mean, not that it was designed in good faith. I want to say, was it designed in good faith and goodwill, or in bad faith and ill will? There was, however, an event recounted in the CRIMMID article that suggests a very high probability of bad faith and ill will of the British designers against Nigeria. According to the report, after Britain, as a colonial government, agreed that Nigeria was to become an independent nation with a specified date given, the head of the Independence Celebration Committee, Colonel Herford, made an open request for entries for the national anthem, national flag, and national flag. However, the request for a coat of arms was not open. The request was directed to the College of Arms in London. A huge takeaway from this act is that the colonial government took it upon themselves, on behalf of Nigerian Nigerians, to give them the coat of arms, which is the seal of government. As for the flag, it was the entry of 23-year-old electrical engineering student of Norwood Technical College in London, Mr. Taiwo Akinkumi, that was accepted. However, what we have today as Nigeria's flag ascribed to him is not exactly what he designed. In his original entry, it is reported that there was a red radiating sun badge in the center of the 3 horizontal sizes of green, white, and green colors. The committee for the flag accepted it as a winning entry, but dropped the red radiating sun that was in the middle. According to the CRIMMID article, the excised red star badge, in the thought of the designer, Mr. Taiwo Akinkumi, on record represents divine protection and guardians. Divine protection and guidance. The question now arising is, why remove these two positive wishes? Was there a design to strip the new nation, Nigeria, of all forms of defense from heaven to earth, from the heavenlies to the earthly plane, and make her vulnerable from earth to heaven, via the coat of arms? Could it also be that it was not the will of the British to actually let Nigeria go, but when independence was granted, superstructures that dominate the human subconscious were set up to destroy the destiny of the new nation in the course of time by chance? The higher probability indicated that the design was with willful malevolence, and which, for further reflection and analysis, was codenamed the ambush. This heralded a new dimension of reflections and analysis on the cause of death in relation to Akpasayi, as preempted in the opening part of this presentation. By the principle of Akpasayi, people who come under this form of affliction are living dead. In Nigeria's case, it is a nation placed under the spell of dead souls. The leadership is the target for cosmic annihilation and transformation into dead souls. The intention is better spelt out by an understanding of the dynamics of the design in the course of time and chance. This sheds more intense light into the course of Nigeria's martial evolution through a numerological sequence and dynamics. The day a decision was made that Nigeria was to be independent, and when a date was chosen, is October 27, 1958. That was the date. In digit summation, this 10 for October plus 27 plus 1 plus 9 plus 5 plus 8 for 1958 is equal to 60. 60 digit summed is 6 plus 0, and that is 6. With this number, the British stood in the position as mediators, as figure 6 in the Jewish Kabbalah is a number of the manifestation of what was referred to as mediating intelligence. Now, if the British will was good, Nigeria stood the chance of true independence and unfettered development all across the north and south. The regions would have developed well enough to the point where each could have opted for independence and returned back to the pre-amalgamation form in better states of being to the applause of the British. However, with the ill will in force, the British were positioned as a principality that would always expose Nigeria to evil and attract same to her. The next significant day in the course of Nigeria's destiny was September 16, 1960, when the coat of arms was signed into law. The numerological calculus is expected to unveil a very significant form. 9 plus 16 plus 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 0 for 1960. Everything digit summed is 41. 4 plus 1 is 5. By this day configuration of 5, Nigeria was anchored to the military for destruction. What is more, it was promulgated 14 days to independence. It was the coat of arms was signed into law 14 days to independence. 14 days is 1 plus 4, which is also 5. So there is a strong bridge from a martial number of 5 to another martial number of 5 in time and space. Now, where there is ill will, what is to be expected is the negative dimensions of figure 5. 5 itself has its positive dimensions, but where it is negative, all you have is war and destruction. So, where there is ill will, what is expected is the negative dimensions of figure 5. principle of which is destruction with might, because 5 is also the number of might. Hence, the eagles and horses, being martial animals, are further seals of self-destructive propensities. The principal human sector of the society programmed to pivot the destruction of Nigeria's destiny is the military. The configuration does not mean well for the military and the members of the territory which it ought to protect. It also placed Nigeria under the spell of boots and guns in a volatile state of perpetual internal conflict. The programmed destruction is expected to manifest according to the number of years, which is men. They can't cut here. So paragraph E must stop. So we continue tomorrow. The programmed destruction is expected to manifest according to the number of years, which meant that Nigeria, from independence, had in its future 3 principal pure martial evolutions, wherein significant national template changes are expected to occur. The first non-shadow form being in its 5th year, running from the 1st day of October 1960 to the 30th day of September 1966. The second was when Nigeria turned 50 years, to run from the 1st day of October 2010 to the 30th day of September 2011. After this, the next pure stage is Nigeria at 500 years in the year 2460. No one alive today will witness that, but those alive today can act in such a way as to secure positive vibrations for those who will be around in that distant future, whether Nigeria remains one or the regions are freed to manifest as distinct nations. The first 2 cycles, 5 and 50, are very crucial and definitive, and the course could only be changed from negative to positive if the root of cycle is utterly destroyed. It must be noted that it was within this first cycle, this is the first martial year, between October 1, 1965 and September 30, 1966, that the first military coup occurred in Nigeria. And it was also between the 1st of October 2010 and 30th of September 2013, Nigeria experienced a transition into dimensions of terrorism after the October 1 bomb blast at the Eagle Square. The date of decision to grant independence and the date of actualization of the decision is numerologically configured in such a way that figure 6 and 9, symbolisms in the order of nature, are established. October 1, 1960 will evolve into 10 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1960 for 1960. What we have is 27. 2 plus 7 is 9. On the tree of life in the Jewish Kabbalah, figure 9 is the number of the plane called Yesod, and its planet is the moon. The intelligence associated with this plane is called pure intelligence, which evolved in Christian literature and religion as the Holy Spirit. Intelligence, being pure, is conditional, dependent on the embracing of the light of the sun, which is the planet of Tifereth. In nature, the moon does not reflect the light of its own, it reflects the light of the sun. Naturally, it is only when the moon is full that there is visibility in the dark, and that the night appears safe and humans have less fear of danger. However, where the moonlight is withdrawn, there is deep darkness. From the day it was decided that Nigeria was to be granted independence, it appears that the mediation was to connect Nigeria to deep darkness from the high plains through the Aba of arts. The choice of the eagle on the coat of arms and its placement against the source of light seems a supremely crafted plot to open the subconscious gate to gales of the dark by disconnection of the ego from the sun, which is its correlated planet. With the lights shut out of the Nigerian subconscious, nonagonal cycle after the nonagonal cycle, degeneration was assured because the destructive vibration of figure 9 was set for manifestation in Nigeria, in the Nigerian soul. Figure 9 is the number symbol for selfishness and satanic greed. Because now, in explaining this concept from the viewpoint of metaphorical history of nature, which will indicate the psychology of leadership and its influence on policies. But first, let's look into the biblical book of Revelations, where the figure 9 is referenced symbolically in its selfish characteristic in regard to the mystery of figure 666. What the Bible was actually portending is the model of human mind that propels and secures the dehumanization and destruction of mankind and human morality. Reference to the beast is a sovereign in society within the state of nature, which is akin to that which Thomas Hobbes expresses the value of human experience as being nasty, brutish, and short. It is written in the book of Revelations, chapter 13, verses 16 to 18, that he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. For it is the number of a man. Man. His number is 666. So here we're talking about psychology in the course of human history. In the limited understanding of the pulpit, the time referenced in the book of Revelations is generally projected to be a period when people will have their heads or forearms marked. No, it is not. The forehead and forehand represent the orientation, ideology, and the craft. When the Bible mentions that he who is without the mark will not be able to buy or sell, economy is what is just being referred to, buying and selling. So, and what the 9 connotes ultimately in this regard is monopoly. How is this so? It is instructed in the Bible concerning the number 666. Calculate it. It is the number of man. So humans, we are expected to calculate this, and if we calculate it by addition, we have 6 plus 6 plus 6, which is 18. The digit sum it in numerology, 1 plus 8 is equal to 9. So we have 9. Now, this is where there's a correlation between number and psychology, human psychology or behavior. So we have 9 positive and 9 negative. The positive 9 is that which is connected to light at the point of 6. When 9 adds up with any other number, the 9 is not traceable in the number which is magnified. For example, 9 plus 1 is 10. 10 is 1 plus 0, that is 1. 11 is 1 plus 1, which is 2. So 9 plus 2 is 11. 11 is 1 plus 1, which is 2. 9 plus 3 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. It goes on and on like that. The 9 adds and you don't see the traces of the 9. This is the manifestation of love, of sharing, to uplift, which is the central theme of the Christian concept of God-given and only begotten Son for the upliftment of humankind. In the negative, the character of figure 9 is such that when it impacts on another number by multiplication, the number is subsumed totally and everything reverts back to figure 9. Now 9 times 1, that is 9. 9 times 2, 18. 18 is 1 plus 8, which is 9. 9 times 3, 27. 27 is 2 plus 7, which is 9. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 multiplied by 4 is 36. 36 is 3 plus 6, which is 9. 9 multiplied by 4, yes, okay, that's 36. 9 multiplied by 5 is 45. 4 added to 5 is 9. It goes on and on like that until you have 9 multiplied by 9, which is 81, which is also 8 plus 1 and reverse back to 5, to 9. In Yoruba, if we're going to categorize this mental state or this character, we have a situation where an identity of Ashore Fikan Bakan, that is, he who appears to be a benefactor but gives one and takes one bad. Now, in extreme manifestation, in the evolutions of principles and practice of state and policy, not being able to buy or sell has a connection to finances. And we may have a presentation of cases of siege against private finances by tax vultures. On the 666, still on 666, this position being stated is the subject of discussion in a 2012 newspaper article published by the Nation newspaper. The title was Mark 666 and Nigeria's Malevolent Economy. Now, still on the essence of figure 9 as infused into the Nigerian independence template, this foundational plot apparently appears to have been set to ensure that there was no succession of ideological consciousness that had atoms of the positive 9. Most probably, upon studying the propensities of all regions, the target ideological consciousness appeared to be that of late Chief Obafemi Awolowo, whose distinct frame of mind, evident in impact as a regional head, was driven by the understanding that man is the sole creative and purposive dynamic in nature. This was expounded upon in his 4th lecture at the first series of the Kwame Nkrumah lecture series hosted by the University of Cape Coast, Ghana. I think the publication is 1977. Correct, yeah. So Femi passed away without any member of his generation or immediate successor generation of the political class striking consciousness, which was described by Moses Akin Makinde of blessed memories as mental magnitude. The late Makinde, who was Awolowo's interactive company, a University of Toronto trained teacher of philosophy at the Obafemi University, Ife, preached the referenced core virtue of Obafemi Awolowo till his death in September 2018. We're still on figure 9. The figure 9 configuration in the negative may have been set up. They have been to set up Nigeria for leadership that will reason in direct opposition or opposite to the ideal based on the understanding of man as a sole creative and purposive dynamic in nature. Regime after regime post-independence and generation after generation of political elite classes, the driving ideology would evolve to be economics, or economy as the sole creative and purposive dynamics of nature. In this twist, man replaces land as he is relegated to the state of the subhuman, wherein he is the target of all markets and market forces. He's a subdued slave and apparently of no benefit to the state and unto himself. His only value is a product. Yeah, he is a product. Now, the resources of the land in such a situation we're describing right now, the resources of the land are not and cannot be his for his benefit. Because man, in this reverse, in this situation where economics is now the sole creative and purposive dynamics of nature, man is cast into the harsh atmosphere of extremist capitalism that is embraced by the state, unlike the system of governance in operation during the Awolowo exemplary regime, where resources of the regions or region which he governed were used for public good in utilitarian ideological fashion. We find that over the past dispensations, economy is always discussed as if it is the yardstick of good governance. And we have deceptive vibes in valuations such as, oh, largest economy in Africa, which excite, whereas the Human Development Index is appalling under the -9 mode. Human suffering does not matter. The valuation of the human mind does not matter. Education only matters when it becomes profitable as an economic enterprise, etc. When the -9 evolves to its peak in Nigeria, hell on earth will manifest for the majority of people by strokes of policy and policy implementation. The policies holding this effect will be those driven by reliance on financial expertise or intelligence exclusively to drive national development. Yes, to the exclusion of humanitarian reasoning. The Nigerian humanity will at this time be at its lowest ebb. Back to the coat of arms. If the design of the coat of arms was founded on ill will, there are other issues to further consider to affirm various positions that we stated earlier. If it was a spell or hex to place Nigeria under the spell of dead souls, of leadership, principally, and followership in politics, commerce, and religion, from the north to the west, east down to the south, wherein the federal government chooses to retain the coat of arms, such a choice will amount to choosing death over life and sickness over health. What is more, the British and the Fulani in particular will miss a lifetime opportunity for redemption. In the Nigerian space, both have a common character in history as invaders. Neither is indigenous to any area in Nigeria, yet historically the British seem to have them gripping the anchors of political power in Nigeria. The Fulani appear favored by the British. However, from indications, from interpretation of the coat of arms, there is no love for the North. There is no love for the North in general, or the invasive Fulani co-travelers who are just being used by smarter accomplices. The Fulani themselves are programmed along with Hausas of the North to be predators and merchants of multidimensional death. And they are also programmed the same way that the other Northerners have been programmed not to ever positively evolve and to continue to degenerate in the course of time. This presentation does not in any way intend to demean the British and Fulani. The British, if it is actually a matter of fact, if it is a fact, if it's actually true that the coat of arms was specifically designed for negative reasons, they need to change their ways of coverture because it blocks incarnations of intelligence of ages within the British ancestral space. From a vantage point of paranormal experience, I am aware that the energy spark of Bertrand Russell is stuck in the planes of incarnation. And as for the Fulani, it is very pertinent to examine them as they appear as Fulani in the Oduifa corpus. All over Africa, a central characteristic of the Fulani tribe is that they are the most notoriously unpleasant guests to host communities. In Ifa Code 192 of the world, they are represented in the signposts of human disorganization, disorientation, and degeneration according to Odu Oselugbe. In the human physical and psychological essence indicating Iwa character, the Odu formation indicates the right palm of the hands, Ose Lotu, reaching out inordinately to Ogbe, the head, Ori or crown. Odu Oselugbe is the Odu which incarnates the malicious character referred to as Afibisolore, that is, he who repays a benefactor with evil. Bobi Ifana ti wí, Oselugbe, abínú funfun bí ẹmu, abọ̀mọ́ pàtàpàtà lẹ́yìn ọrùn, adífá fún Fúlàní tó ń tọ̀pá ẹ̀, ń lọ bá wọn múlẹ̀ bùdó láì ru ẹbọ. Ìgbà wọn ò tèrú. Now, the English translation of this is Oseogbe, whose inside is as white as palm wine, who has a large growth behind his neck. Ifa divination is cast for the Fulani along with his walking stick, he was going to establish a new city without acting right, without doing the right things. Their times are never pleasant. Now, the problem from this Eseifa, find that the problems of the people known as Fulani here, they seek to take over other people's lands without limits or a vision of final settlement. That dream or desire, innate desire, is an obsession, and their object of reliance for perpetuating these acts of lack of a sense of boundary and the incursions into other people's space disruptively is the stick, which is the object of sacrifice. That is said that needs to be given up. This is the symbol of the nomad. The stick is a nomadic tool to drive cows with the principal aim of usurping other people's lands. From experience, from the stories the stories in Nigeria so far, particularly. Now, the path to Fulani redemption is the sacrifice of giving up the nomadic stick and embrace peaceful animal husbandry within the northern territory that they have been very fortunate to assimilate into. With modern technology, science and technology, the region could actually become an excellent and extraordinarily prosperous hub, agricultural hub. Now, the transformation of the Fulani is expected to tilt their reasoning of their leadership towards constructive and generative intelligence, and far away from the constructive and degenerative intelligence that is bent only on executing offensive overtures of the hands towards the head. In their presently evident characteristic highlighted in the Eseifa, it is noted that wherever they are in power or have a way in the community, their time is never pleasing. It is important to note that the stick is also a weapon. Hence, wherever the Fulani is in power, it is expected that there will be heightened occurrences of arms, maybe we say proliferation, or they'll have issues, misuse of weapons, and heightened occurrences of land invasions. And to dress discussions around these incidents, the clashes are defined as herders-farmers clashes. Now, it is high time for the Fulani leadership all over Nigeria, West Africa, and the African continent to revise their philosophy of life. They are human beings with full capacity to be very great and to emerge as a positive-minded sect of the human race. Now, with eyes taken off expansion into the Nigerian middle belt and down southern Nigeria, good planning and execution of a northern agricultural agenda, the northern Nigeria can become the largest hub of cattle rearing in the world. Other regions can also live in peace and far away from threats of expansionist agenda. The National Assembly also needs to pass a law that emphatically outlaws conquest as a means of land acquisition in Nigeria. Where there is no expressly provided statute in this regard, negative history will have its way in encouraging invasions across the country, particularly by people who are not naturally indigent, but who are programmed stakeholders by political arrangements. Without this legislation, the open windows will be explored, and there will continue to be waves after waves of attacks, predominantly in rural areas. People will be displaced from one place to another, and the best intervention of the state will be setting up of internally displaced persons camps, IDPs, where the land is taken over and lost to invaders. As for the British, it is good to wish that the coat of arms, Nigerian coat of arms, designed by them, was an error or just an accident of art and not intentional. However, at the same time, even if they are complicit, if it is intentional and they are complicit in the setting up of Nigeria for destruction, according to indications of the Nigerian coat of arms, it is important that we, as a people, forgive them. We must necessarily forgive them and take no offense. Take no offense and we shouldn't hold on to any ill feelings or ill will against them. I mean, the British, they are humans, prone to pitfalls of the flesh arising from limitation of reason on some parts, deficiency of ethics on another, and disregard of providential works in creation. Those involved in the plot, if actually there was one, cannot represent or reflect the mind of many other well-meaning and humane Britons. Let me quote from a Shakespearean sonnet for a reality check. Roses have thorns and silver fountains mud. Cloud and eclipse stain both moon and sun, and loathsome canker lives in the sweetest buds. So it is time to focus on the beautiful roses and ignore the thorns. The British are a great people, and I am yet to find that sect in the world which holds an array of positively inspiring and exquisitely magnificent intellectual ancestry. Now, in the cart heading into the future, it is hoped that the British relate with us and with the Nigerian space with goodwill and as human beings, not as slaves or subhuman entities. The Nigerian coat of arms experience perhaps may stand as a lesson for all nations of the world, as was first noted by Professor Wale Omole sometime in 2008-9 during the telephone conversation. Perhaps Britain should look into her use of lions. The same with the nations that gained independence from Great Britain, who used predator symbols. As for the lion, it is a fact that it is a territorially invasive and viciously murderous creature. Its honor in the wild is no honor in the body or consciousness of men, whose good or bad destinies are sealed by Iwa. The lion is incarnated by Ogbeyeku, but as a matter of consciousness, as much as the lion is fascinating, man must beware of pitfalls to be found in Oyekulobe, inversion of Ogbeyeku. Head above and before the neck, not the neck above the head. Orí ní ṣọ́bodè lọ́rùn, ọrùn kò lè ṣọ́bodè lórí. Orí ló ní bodè àyànmọ́. The higher consciousness of man must always prevail, and right perception precipitates and precedes the right direction. His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the leadership and membership of the National Assembly, states governors, leadership of states houses of assembly, and critical stakeholders need to act to repeal any act or acts that enable the continued use of the Nigerian coat of arms as a matter of emergency, and also the flag, which had been tampered with. I have some words of encouragement for all those who will be involved in the processes leading to the official abrogation of the Nigerian coat of arms at this critical time of our lives. These are words extracted from lyrics to a song titled Superior Man by an old neighborhood band called Crude Oil, led by Femi Afolabi Brown. And I quote, "Your heartbeat is rising, your armor is shining, the moment you've been waiting for. Time to make a difference, your essence in life, the reason you breathe. Step outside, get on track, take this baton of your life. You are ordained. So, show your strength, O superior man. Number one, you have won. You were born to do it. You're a champion." So, ultimately, the bull must be taken by the horns. The Nigerian coat of arms is a common enemy to every Nigerian and the world. It has a very global impact. There's a gate of influence to the globe, but that is not discussed in this presentation. That ultimately the bull must be taken by the horns. The Nigerian coat of arms is a common enemy to every Nigerian and the world. In its potential to permeate the global space, the gate of evil cosmic influence is bound to be opened through Nigeria's mother, Britain. I call this Operation Save Nigeria and Great Britain. As a rule of practical metaphysical science, it is much easier to effect good changes from the astral plane in physical existence than using all the forces in the world to put things right on earth. It is written in the biblical book of Ecclesiastes 10 verse 10 that wisdom is profitable to direct. As a matter of fact, the gains of Nigeria's original and foundational democratic setup under the Independence Constitution has since been thrashed, and the seizure of control over the future ensured by a unitary constitutional order that is perfected in the 1999 Constitution. In relation to the British influence in the negative, an illuminating account of the constitutional bondage is given in a 29-minute documentary by barrister Tony Nadi titled Nigeria, the Pyramid of Evil. This documentary can be found on YouTube. The problems of this constitution have given rise to separatist agitations and reasonable agitations for constitutional reforms. Models are being put forward, some of which are recommendations by Baba Afe Babalola for a return to the 1960 or 1963 Constitution. Barrister Tony Nadi-led Nina's Union Reconfiguration Undertaking, Bishop Wale Olagunju's proposition of a restructured Nigeria under the name United States of Nigeria, and the researched, conceptually sound Orange Union principle being propounded and propagated by the Fatherland Group and the Yoruba Foundation. It is a matter of necessity that the role of the British in Nigeria's history be revisited by experts in that area. Now, assuming yet again that the coat of arms of Nigerian coat of arms was designed or was deliberately crafted from the coven or coven-mindedness, it passes as a weapon unleashed to establish a covenant with misfortune and to see that the new nation degenerates and to see that the new nation is set back to 1914 by the destruction of all works of those who fought for independence, and to also ensure that the course of true development is impossible. I humbly implore His highly esteemed Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and relevant arms of government to act quickly, promptly, positively to pull Nigeria out of the grave and secure regeneration of Iwa that appears very strongly to be under siege of attack from the coven trenches of the willful maleficia. I want to state that it is not compulsory for a nation to have a coat of arms as a seal of government. There is no escape of influence of his vibrations from the human subconscious that will determine the inclination of the active mind. Now, in an energized artwork that is open to magnetism of the forces of nature, humans need to be very careful. Ọ̀rúnmìlà ní ká lágbára bí Ògún ká gbọ́n bí Ifá. Ọ̀rúnmìlà ní ká lágbára bí Ògún ká gbọ́n bí Ifá. Ọ̀rúnmìlà ó ní ká lágbára bí Ògún ká gbọ́n bí Ifá. Mo ní nítorí kíni? Ọ̀rúnmìlà ní nítorí ẹ̀mí. Ẹ̀mí mi ló máa kún gbogbo ilé ayé. Kò sí ohun tó dára ju wípé kí a lágbára ju ẹ̀mí mi lọ. I'm quoting this from it's an essay from Ogundawori. Now, in English language, this essay states that Orunmila admonishes us to be as strong as Ogun and as wise as Ifa. I asked Orunmila, why Orunmila? Orunmila said, it is because of vibrations. Vibrations are all over the entire space of the universe, but there is nothing as good for man. There is nothing, the best thing for man is to be more powerful, is not to be overwhelmed by vibrations, but to have power and control over vibrations in the universe. Centrally, this teaching admonishes humans to exert goodwill with utmost intense force of might, which Ogun symbolizes, an unbending positive will, and also to seek the best of right directions, to take in full knowledge of truths of nature and the universe. Our choices matter. Àyànmọ́ kò gbóògùn, àkúnlẹ̀yàn ní àdáyébá, àdáyébá ní àdáyéṣe, kí orí wa kó yàn àyànmọ́ ire. Àṣẹ. I will now move on to the concluding phase of this presentation on a note to buttress the impact of the coat of arms by a presentation of a timeline of incidents and occurrences in Nigeria through the lens of dual-pathed nonagonal cycles. This will be a view through the first nonagonal cycle of Nigeria's existence from independence to the 8th and onwards to the 9th. Nonagonal cycles, derived and consolidated in the course of research on Odu as a mother of numbers, are an order of foundation based on 9 yearly cycles, and in numerology. Interestingly, all numbers commence at 1 and end at 9. For 9 is the foundation and completion of all numbers. So in looking into these nonagonal cycles, we will consider the day. The most important consideration is the day in which the decision was made by the colonial government that Nigeria will be granted independence on October 1. This is 1958, October 27. And so the year 1958, falling under the Act of Conception, requires that the count of cycle begins from that precise number, 1958, like the order of counting Yoruba traditional weekdays called Ojose. Ojose Orishati Onumole. This is the first of the dual pathways for exclusive points of originating force. The second part will be the course of the year cycle. In this order, here are a timeline of 8 nonagonal cycles of Nigeria's history post-independence in 1958. The first nonagonal cycle, the first path, October 27, 1958, to 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, and 66. The second path, October 27 to October 27 to October 26 of the year bridges of 1958 to 1959, 1959 to 1960, 1960 to 1961, 1961 to 1962, 1962 to 63, 63 to 64, 64 to 65, 65 to 66, 66 to 67. In the first nonagonal cycle, the martial evolution of Nigeria commenced in the 5th year, between October 1 1965, and September 30, 1966, in the military coups of January and July of 1966. The cycle was sealed by the commencement of a civil war on July 6, 1967. The principal cause of war was that the Eastern Bloc could no longer coexist with the Northern-dominated federal government. However, the shadow causative Marshall template cycle upon which the cycle of war and destruction of Nigeria after independence is based or rooted is 1958. Aside from the fact that 1958 is summable to 5 by 1 plus 9 plus 5 plus 8, which is 23, 2 plus 3, which is equal to 5. Counting 5 years forward from 1958 to 1962, we mark the year where the foundation of war and destruction was laid. In history, focus beams on the Western region crisis of 1962. Second nonagonal cycle. First path, October 27 of 1967. 1968, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 1974, and 1975. The second path, October 27 to October 26 of 1967 to 68, 1968 to 1969, 1969 to 1970, 70 to 71, 71 to 72, 72 to 73, 73 to 74, 74 to 75, and 75 to 76. In this second nonagonal cycle of martially anchored Nigeria, by the close of the cycle in 1976, there was a Lieutenant Bukasowa Dimka bloody military coup on February 13, 1976. The third nonagonal cycle, first path, October 27 of 1976 to 1977, October 27 of 1976, of 1977, 1978, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84. The second path of the same third nonagonal cycle, October 27 to October 26 of 1976 to 1977, 1977 to 1978, 1978 to 1979, 1979 to 1980, 1980 to 1981, 81 to 82, 82 to 83, 83 to 84, 84 to 85. Within this third nonagonal cycle, there were two military coups on December 31, 1983, and the second one on the 27th of August, 1985. The fourth nonagonal cycle, the first path, October 27 of 1985 to 1986, 1987, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, and 93. Second path, October 27 of 1985 to 86, 86 to 87, 87 to 88, 88 to 89, 89 to 90, 90 to 91, 1991 to 1992, 1992 to 1993, and 1993 to 1994. Within this cycle, there was another military coup in 1983. Now, the fifth nonagonal cycle, the first path, October 27 of 1994, 1995, 1996, 1997, 1998, 1999, 2000, 2001, and 2002. The second path, October 27 to October 26 of 1994 to 1995, 1995 to 1996, 1996 to 1997, 1997 to 1998, 1998 to 1999, 1999 to the year 2000, 2000, 2001, 2001, 2002, 2002 to 2003. The significant incident here is the transition of power from a regime to another by the death of a military head of state, Sani Abacha, in 1998. Let me repeat that. The significant incident here is the transition of power from a regime to another by the death of a military head of state, Sani Abacha, in 1998. General Abdulsalami Abubakar took over, and there was also a transition to civil rule, not exclusively to civil rule, but to a retired military man in the person of General Olusegun Obasanjo. The sixth nonagonal cycle, the first path, October 27 of 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. The second path, 2003 to 2004, 2004 to 2005, 2005 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, and 2011 to 2012. The significant events here, by suggestions of the figure 6, is the mediation in respect of the voyage to resolving causation issues in respect of the negative cycles. However, it was within this cycle, however, in respect of martial symbolism, it is within this period that Nigeria evolved into a second martial evolution, pure martial evolution, after the 1965-66 mode. On October 1, 1965, we had the calculation of the same similar date. 1 plus 10, the calculation of the day is 5. When you calculate 1 plus 10 plus 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 5, everything digit summed 23, 2 plus 3, 5. October 1, 2010, shared the same common number, calculated to read the same 1 plus 10 plus 2001, 2001, we had 14, 1 plus 4 is 5. So that Nigeria was 50, and that was the second martial year. In an article taken off the internet in 2009, the Nigerian government, the article by the present speaker, a brief article, the government was forewarned that as it looked forward to celebrating Nigeria at 50, it should be aware of an evolution of violence from that day under the symbolic code of blood spill and scampering of feet. Sudden blood spill and scampering of feet. And so on October 1, 2010, the Eagle Square was bombed in Abuja, and Nigeria slipped into a new era of armed violence and terrorism. The seventh nonagonal cycle. First path, October 27 of 2012, 2013, 2014, 15, 16, 17, 2018, 2019, 2020. Second path, 2012, 2013, 2013 to 14, 14 to 15, 15 to 16, 16 to 17, 2017, 2018, 2018, 2019, 2019, 2020, 2020 to 2021. This is a very significant era dealing with incursions into the causative underworld and occult intelligence as grounds of battle for Nigeria's soul. It was within this cycle that victory of the evil will driving the coat of arms was expected to manifest where no right action, counteraction was taken at the dimensions of the causative, at the dimensions of causative underworld, with the transition of the military back onto the driving seat with ex-President Buhari in power. The period where everything was expected to collapse by a devastating war was 2019. That's the projection when Nigeria was turned 59. That's Nigeria's 59th year. There is another sub martial year cycle, 59, 5 plus 9, 14, 1 plus 4, 9. Now, it was Nigeria's 7th mixed martial evolution. The 5th and the 50th years were the pure ones. The figure 7 is significant. Figure 7, aside from its causative essence, is a number of victory. The prospective victory of evil will was, however, vanquished. The open window for engagement was in 2007, 2 years before before the 57th. Yeah. By virtue, yes, the prospective victory of the evil will was vanquished. And the open window for engagement was in 2007, by virtue of its essence of being figure 1, as the spring and first line of a pyramid that eventually closed in 2019. After arriving at disturbing realizations earlier between 2000 and before 2017, I moved into seclusion and thereafter a retreat at an Ifa temple to confirm the impending impact of the coat of arms that was perceived. Divination cast by the Babalawo Ifa, the Ifa priest, revealed that a plethora of evils had already left the heavens, had taken flight in their bases in heavens en route Nigeria to wreak devastating havoc. As a matter of emergency, a sacrifice evoking and propitiating 201 deities or Colonial was the way out to send the evil energies back. That was what was signified in the course of divination as the solution and way out. VA22, propitiation was done, and it was enough to buy time to secure a clear-cut opportunity for Nigeria's redemption in the 8th nonagonal cycle between 2001 and 2029. We are currently in that 8th nonagonal cycle. Now the 8th nonagonal cycle. October 27, 2021, 2022, 2023, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and 2029. That's the first path. The second path of the 8th nonagonal cycle, 2021 to 22, 2022 to 2023, 2023 to 24, 24 to 25, 25 to 26, 26 to 27, 27 to 28, 28 to 29, 2029 to 2030. Now, in this era, in this period, there's a transition, as we from our experience and observation generally now, we see that there is a transition back into the civilian hands. It's a pure civilian that is president, away from the grip of the North, and a demilitarization of government. On another note, the figure 8 presents a template of a ground of contest, which is the mind. The mind under the siege of witchcraft. Figure 8 is a very crucial period in time. In the positive, there is a presence of the fullness of the energy, which is best described in the Christian world, in terms of Christian worldview, as that energy of the Lord God of hosts. Also, the fullness of energy. There's a fullness of energy for manifestation of intelligence in viewing the past, seeing into the future, and being conscious of the present. These energies come alive in a fusion of the subconscious, conscious, and superconscious levels. Now, this particular period is a period of national awakening and recovery of consciousness, stolen national glory or glories. The power in the presence of this period is akin to that power, best described by the legend of Archangel Michael, which aided Daniel in the book of Daniel chapter 10 to defeat the symbolic prince of Persia. Archangel Gabriel belongs to the order, the 8th order in the tree of life, the 10 agencies of creation in Jewish Kabbalah, and is assigned against all witchcraft. This 8th nonagonal cycle is apparently and undoubtedly the appointed time to exercise political will to save Nigeria's soul from the jaws of the coat of arms, and to also save Great Britain from herself. Nigeria is currently 63 years old. We are still within the 63rd year, which runs from October 1, 2023 to September 30, 2024. The significance of this is that, first, it's the seventh lunar cycle, and seven is it's a time, it's either you are defeated in this battle or you win in this battle, because it is a year of ground, a strong ground of battle to win this race. To win the battle against negative causation, time and chance favors Nigeria. I have to recall that it is written that the race is not unto the swift, neither unto the strong, etc., but time and chance. So the time and chance favors Nigeria. And once this coat of arms is abrogated, Nigeria starts on a fresh note of cosmic template by October 1, 2024. So there can be no other time like this. This 63rd year. 63 is 6 plus 3, which is 9. It is a finality, is a conclusion, is a seal of a foundation, and it is a make or mar. Nigeria needs to stand up and free itself in this particular nonagonal cycle. As for Great Britain, this particular cycle offers an opportunity for her to be freed from karma and have our own, and yes, karma, and then have a cosmic reset for our own redemption from the next nonagonal cycle, which is the 9th nonagonal cycle. But as for Nigeria, this is the 63rd year. 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 is a finality. It's the close of a 7th nonagonal cycle. And from October 1, 2024, the template changes because Nigeria moves on to a new beginning, and it is better to move on clean. 1st of October, Nigeria will be 64. 6 plus 4 is 10. 10 is 1 plus 0. It is 1. The new beginning. Now we move to the 9th nonagonal cycle. The first path, 2020, October 27, 2029, 2020, 2030, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, and 37. The second path, 2029, 2030, 2030, 2031, 31 to 32, 32 to 33, 33 to 34, 34 to 35, 35 to 36, 36 to 37, 37 to 38. The ultimate significance of the closing cycle is its indication of recourse to history for positive use if the nation is still united at that time, or the regions are restored to pre-amalgamation normalcy in nature. This period also serves as a period of manifestation of the British, manifestation of British redemption. But that is if there is no covert opposition to the abrogation of the coat of arms. Because it is within this period, the 9th nonagonal cycle, that there is an incarnation of the nonagonal cycles of the foundational years configured as 6 to determine the course of the universe, which appears not to favor England or Great Britain. Now, the first of these triangles had been stated earlier in the presentation to be the first one from the first nonagonal cycle of this particular millennium, the onrunning millennium, being 2004, 2013, and 2022. The triangle closed in 2022, the demise of the Queen of England, late Queen Elizabeth of England. And the next comes in 2000, and the next cycle of sixes with that incarnates the same energies of 2004, 13, and 22. The period is the year 2031. That's where we have another fresh cycle, and that comes in this ninth lunagonal cycle. It's also important to note that 2040 is expected to be the time when there is normalcy. The sixth energy returns to normalcy for Great Britain. That's why I called earlier in the presentation for fraternal retrospection among the inner circles of the British society. And so, we hope and pray that everyone concerned in making things right takes the right steps as we look forward to a better future. It is now on this note that I end this presentation. I remain yours sincerely, Olumide Okunmakinde, Esquire. Ire o.